Hello and welcome to a special Cynic feature podcast. We are very excited today. I'm your host, Clare Wild, and I'm here with Tom and Tino from the Fàilte Network, which is a new charity that's been set up very, very recently. And they're basically here to tell us all about it. Obviously, it's Celtic related. And at this point, I'm just going to introduce them. Tino, nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Not at all. And of course, Tom, nice to be with you as well.
Aye, likewise. Nice to meet you, Claire. Cheers.
Not a problem. It's nice to meet you both as well. And I'm really excited to find out about all the work you've been doing. I've read the articles that you've put out, and obviously we've got a lot of questions for you. But I don't know which one of you wants to take this. But I guess the best way to start is for one of you to kick off and just explain to us what the Fàilte Network is, how it was set up, and what you kind of aim to do very briefly before we dig into it a bit more.
It's been a long time in the making. I've done a lot of stuff that we intend to do informally over the years, and Tino's been the same. So essentially what we're looking to do is just provide an opportunity for refugees and asylum seekers, especially young refugees and asylum seekers, to just have a fun day out, away from the stresses of their asylum claims and everything else going on in their lives, and introduce them to Celtic, to our club, to our community, and a really good match day experience, and importantly at no cost to them, so kind of all funded. And then at the same time, I guess just trying to do something proactive and positive to dispel this sort of prevailing right-wing narrative that we're seeing becoming more and more prevalent in recent months and years. So even if that's just in our own small way. Exciting times, and we've just formalised it a couple of months back there. It's been a long time in the making, about kind of 9 months since Tino and I got together to have those initial chats. So I'm excited to get going.
These things always sort of take a long time to get off the ground if you're doing it properly. Martin, what Tom explained there is it's using Celtic, I guess, is the vehicle for the work that you want to do. Is that kind of what inspired you to get this off the ground?
The passion for Celtic's already there. That's something me and Tom we're not adopting Celtic, that it was already there. That's something that's been long established in our lives, sort of thing. So, and I think we're both sort of the opinion that the sort of roots of the club bring with it a sort of political narrative that, as much as some people might not get involved in it as much, I think it's something that's always kind of been at the forefront of Tom and I supporting Celtic, and the sort of culture that it's came with. And I know from my own family background and family coming from Ireland and being in a similar situation in terms of, like Tom was saying, the sort of narrative that's out there in the media, and how they were treated when they came, and hearing those stories firsthand from my own family, and the same people that were telling me those stories have sort of were the ones that introduced me to the club, and whenever I was a kid. And it's just about sort of all of that's just contributed, and then it's just being sort of active in terms of sort of groups that are already there, already established, like you talked about the articles, and we sort of rhymed off a few that between us, me and Tom have worked with over the years. And it's just about linking that to our passion of Celtic, and just doing it a wee bit more formally, because we've already done it informally. We've done the days that we're looking to achieve with the charity, but it's just about doing it properly, making sure it's funded, making sure everything goes through the right channels. So it's just about using something that's already there to benefit others that are in a slightly more disadvantaged situation than we're in.
Yeah, 100%. Tom, can you tell us a little bit more about the name Fàilte Network? People, Failte, I've seen it written a lot. I had to check with you the pronunciation before we started recording just to make sure that I was getting it right. I said, I could butcher it with my English accent. But can you tell us a little bit about that name, what it means, and why it kind of sums up the essence of what you're doing?
Aye, so it's Irish and also Gaelic for welcome. So it's just a nod to that heritage that Tino was talking about there, and also there's quite a a kind of strong Gaelic revival going on just now on both sides of the Irish Sea. So just a nod to that, really. We want to welcome people, and we want to network as well. We want to get involved with other organisations and groups. And my pal said to me the other day, there, is it named after the pub that used to be in St Vincent Street? And although I did spend a ridiculous amount of time in there, it's not.
Could you just tell us a little bit about the work that both of you, I think, have done previously that's kind of led you to kind of having more of an understanding of the situation of the people, the refugees, the asylum seekers, the people that you would kind of want to be the primary beneficiaries of the work that you're doing? Because I don't know who wants to start, but both of you have worked in that area before. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we've both got a sort of long standing history. We've got a good network of people that work in the same sort of field and have the same sort of similar views. We've also got links with the Green Brigade that obviously have then this sort of similar views, and they've helped accommodate as the Green Brigade's been sort of fundamental in terms of tickets and getting them into the standing section and giving them a really good experience. And through that and the work that the Green Brigade have done and the work that me and Tom have done personally, in terms of just that it goes way back to the Unity Centre, which isn't open anymore. I know that Tom's also been to Calais, and whenever the jungle was there and things like that, and it's endless the list that we've got, and we've got a good network of people out there. And I think in terms of both our professional lives, we've got good networks there. And it's just me and Tom have crossed paths multiple times, just through that sort of scene, through that sort of networking. And it's just about putting our two heads together, because I think we do have a wealth of experience to then putting that together and sort of channeling it through Celtic.
Absolutely. And I think the very fact that we're having this conversation, that you're doing this, reflects the fact that probably all of us agree that like football is inherently political and has political elements and aspects, right? So I guess the tricky question of, Celtic as a club, and you're obviously working within the confines of like bringing people to Celtic Park and that context, lives on this reputation of like Brother Wilfred and the vision for the club and why it was set up. Is there enough being done within the club to reflect that? And is that part of the reason that you're doing what you're doing?
So in terms of that, there's obviously the roots are well known and the Brother Wilfred statue's evident at Celtic Park. There's no getting away from it, but it's something the club are very proud of. We also have you obviously every game, home game, you see Wilfred's Wish. You see the foundation, and the foundation do good work. Me and Tom, I think, both feel that there's still a need for grassroots, and it depends how you think of it, of charity or solidarity with people less fortunate. But I think the need for grassroots is still there, and whether that necessarily reflects how much Celtic are doing, that's probably for an individual to sort of decide on. But we definitely still feel that there's a need for grassroots solidarity within Celtic, because this is a sort of gap that's there in society. It's not a gap Celtic are necessarily filling, and whether that's because no one's thought of it, or it's not a priority to them, or that roles within the club mean that maybe the sort of finding and the network that me and Tom have isn't as accessible to them. So we have been in contact with John Paul Taylor. He knows about the charity. He puts in contact with the foundation. There's been no work there done yet. That doesn't rule it out. We're not anti working with the club or anything like that. I know that we're in a sort of time of change. Hopefully we're in a time of change anyway. We're in a sort of unsteady period between fans and the club, and we all know that. We all know the background to that. But we need to look at what's best for the people that we are looking to connect with. And I don't think putting personal opinions of how the club is run in the way of that. I think if we can gain access to certain experiences through working with the club, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're then agreeing with every action the club takes, but I think we need to keep the sort of purpose of how can we get the best experience for the people that we are trying to connect with. And if that means working with the club, then that's something that we'll look at further down the line. But we definitely feel that the need for fans to see this gap and see this opportunity and to channel what's there. We definitely see that there's a need there for that to happen.
Yeah, I think that what you said about solidarity is really important. And as you were saying it, I was just thinking it kind of ties in really with the name of the organisation and like that idea of welcome. And it's about, like you say, fans welcoming people into their club who might not have had experience of it before. And I guess, Tom, like that parallels, you kind of alluded to it before, the very foundation upon which Celtic was built, which is the Irish immigration that was happening around the time of Celtic's establishment and modern immigration now, and those parallels are really strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would add to kind of what Tino was saying, totally agree, and think that, you know, some of the best things that have came out of Celtic Football Club have been fan-led. You know, you've got the Kano Foundation, Celtic Graves, Match the Find for Palestine, which led to Laji Celtic. There's so much, and CSCs up and down the country are doing amazing charity work all the time. And I just had my CSC's AGM on Saturday there, and the best bit of it, and the best bit of it always is when they talk up about the charity work they've been doing and everybody that we've been able to help over the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
But on the Irish immigration and modern immigration stuff, I think like this country's seen so many waves of emigration and immigration, like since forever, and we're a melting pot of cultures here, and kind of always have been. But the shared story is escaping crises, and more often than not, you know, those are man-made, you know, from colonialism, from empire.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, the issues then, you know, religious and cultural divides, differences with the natives, public anxiety, political debate, stereotypes, prejudices, you know, all sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Because it's exactly what's happening in the here and now.
It comes across very strongly that this is an endeavour that is kind of in direct opposition to some of that rhetoric and that kind of right-wing stuff that is happening in the political arena at this point, and to kind of counter that and to kind of, like you say, bring in that solidarity. What is something in your experience of working directly with refugees and asylum seekers in your own life that the assumptions that people might make about modern immigration and, you know, modern asylum seekers coming over to Scotland, landing in Glasgow, the type of people who you might want to bring to a Celtic game, and what are the realities for them that might get lost in the coverage that we see in the media or the kind of stuff that happens on social media or whatever?
It's a good question. I think I had a colleague say to me today, he was speaking to somebody, I don't know where, in the gym, I think, and he's like, oh, you know, all those immigrants, they're even getting driving lessons now. And, you know, I was like, what? And we were just laughing, but, you know, we shouldn't laugh, because, you know, you hear all the time about getting iPads, getting phones, and staying in luxury in the hotels, and those are like, you know, nails down a blackboard for me. Like, it just absolutely drives me insane, because nothing could be further from the truth, really. You know, some of the hotels that they're staying in, I think people think hotels and think holiday, you know, think luxury, but it's absolutely anything but. Like, a lot of these places are complete dumps, to be honest. Essentially, they're dumping grounds. The government don't really know what to do, and the fact that there are so many asylum seekers in hotels at the moment, that's been something that's manufactured by the previous government, and the current government, for me, don't really have any answers to that. It's low-hanging fruit, isn't it? And I think it's actually the same. Football supporters are low-hanging fruit as well. They're easy targets for politicians and establishment figures to go after, to try and scapegoat, alienate, get an easy victory for them. So I think there's even parallels there. But I think that's another part of what we do hope to do, like, throughout the year, is try and tie in with other organisations, but kind of lean into our own history of immigration here, so that we can draw those parallels and kind of bring that back a wee bit, because unfortunately our community hasn't been immune to some of these, you know, rises in right wing and far right views that we've seen. So that's going to be important for us as we develop as well.
I guess it's about the stories that you tell, and what stories people are hearing, and what they kind of choose to believe, and what they get access to. And the work that you're going to hopefully do will work in the favor of, like, amplifying the stories of the people that you're going to work with. I guess Tino, do you want to tell us a little bit about the kind of stories and the experiences you've had with people who you've already brought to Celtic Park and what you've learned from them about their own experiences, but also about how much it means to be kind of welcomed into a new environment like that?
Yeah, it kind of leads on from some Tom said earlier about why we're looking to do this. We're looking to give these people a chance of a day away of the stresses that comes with the situation that they're in. And it kind of links to the question you just asked of what would people kind of be surprised about, or what would shock them. And I think that all links in together of, I think one of the things that comes across in the media when you're dealing with right-wing outlets is that there's a laziness to refugees or to immigrants or to asylum seekers. And C, just to be in, A, to get here in the first place, and B, to be in the situation they're in is so much work and effort in a foreign country with foreign language, and the forms that they need to, and the meetings they need to make, and even just to find bus routes and things like the effort that it takes to be in their situation, people would be absolutely astounded by, I think. And I think that all links into, you then go talk to people, and we, like I said, we've had people at Celtic Park already, kind of before the charity was sort of more formal. And the stories that we get are, it's brilliant, because it's the old thing of like, wherever you are, you'll see an Irish bar, or you'll always see a Celtic talk wherever you go. But a lot of them they know about Celtic. A lot of them know about Celtic for different reasons. I think the work that's been done with the connection to Palestine has really boosted it within the Muslim community. And they've at least heard of Celtic, or they know something about it. What they know about our culture and the land that they've came to, compared to how much people are willing to learn about theirs, and the experiences and the knowledge and the skills that they can bring, is that's where I find that there's a massive gulf. They're so willing to learn and to see and speak and try new things. And they're met a lot of the time with a brick wall that either isn't willing to engage with them to teach them, but also isn't willing to learn anything that they've got to offer. And I think there's then that's where the us and them narrative comes from. Whereas when you go and spend 90 minutes on a terrace with someone standing next to you, and you're talking about how good or bad the football is, or they might ask about what a certain banner means, or so, the casual conversations you have with them really strikes home the fact that you're dealing with just someone else that loves football, someone else that wants to watch football, someone else that loves the atmosphere, that just has the same interest, the same sort of passion for football that you do. And I think it just strips away when you've got a person and not a statistic in front of you. Like it, I would challenge anyone to keep that sort of prejudice that they might come into that situation with. Whenever you actually hear a young person talk, and some of them maybe want to tell you about their story and some of them don't, but I would challenge anyone to spend the 90 minutes standing next to somebody and having a chat with them on the terrace and still have that prejudice. I think that would be something that would be really hard to do.
Yeah, it's just talking about, well, what I'm hearing there is like that it just keeps coming back to this kind of solidarity piece, and the kind of sharing and the welcoming and the kind of bringing people into a community, rather than looking to kind of provide handouts or provide something that kind of comes from a place of, like you said, us and them.
I think that's quite important, that it's not, and I think that's something that I think Tom would agree with, that it's not a handout. That's not what it's about. It's about bringing them into something we can offer, and it just becomes, even the them then becomes just us. And there's boys that we've got that will follow Celtic, and I'll get an odd Instagram message about something, and it's brilliant, because you've then, that you've sparked that. And quite often they'll say to you, several times it's happened, and they'll say, I hope one day we meet again at Celtic Park, and I hope that, and they've got that, they've experienced it, and then that the them then becomes just part of us. And that's something that really struck home, and you're shaking hands at the end of the experience, and there's not a handout element to it. It's just a welcome in, and you're now one of us. And I think they really get that.
It just keeps making me think about how obviously you're going to get people who are already interested in football, but you also might bring people in I am someone who is relatively new to football, and I had the privilege of being able to have access to come to Celtic Park when I moved to Glasgow and met my husband and things. And I just fell in love with the club that way. Football is a really good way into meeting people in a city, into connecting with community. Tom, do you want to say something about that before we move on to sort of the future stuff?
It's spot on, and it seems something. It almost seems something quite small, but it's massive, because football is a language. It provides meaning, confidence, purpose, and genuinely, when I say this, like, the vast majority of these boys are, and some girls as well, are football obsessed. and it's a way for them to immediately, like, they can come here, and I'd set up a football group in a previous role, and it was a way that they could arrive on the Monday and they could be playing football on the Tuesday. That's something that they don't need money for. They can just come, they can just join in, they're making friends, they don't need to speak a shared language, with the other players. And it's just a really amazing tool for integration. And I'm doing a wee research piece, sort of separate from this at the moment. There's examples throughout Europe of projects similar to this, and also projects more involved directly in playing football and organising football, that have been key to integration within communities. So I think we've got something here in football, in our club, that is often demonised, but can just be such a powerful tool. And that's kind of what we really want to harness, I guess, over the course of the next season, and hopefully well beyond as well.
What are you kind of looking to in terms of, obviously it's a very new endeavour. You said it's been a while in the setting up, but putting it out there now, people are finding out about it. What does like immediate success look like? What are your kind of immediate plans? And then maybe looking sort of a year or two down the line, what does that look like?
I think getting people through the door is the primary thing, and I know that seems like that's the obvious answer here, but it is the obvious answer, and it is the obvious thing we want to do, and that's, well, on the closed season, it might be good. We've been talking about getting stadium visits, sort of tours, and then that's groups that we come up with and bring back to a game. But it's about getting people through the doors and getting them that experience, and the sort of map for what a day would look like, what a sort of successful day would look like, would be to meet up with the group. And what we've done in the past is taken them for some lunch, and then we usually, I think the last time we were down in the Gallagate, and then we walked up past St Mary's and went into St Mary's and sort of talked, because you've obviously got the statue there representing the Great Hunger, and you can talk them through that and what that connection is, and why we feel so strongly about having them there, and why we're not a million miles away from where they are. I know we don't have that direct sort of primary experience, but our families did, and that's important to us, and I think they really pick up on that, and it sets the tone pretty early that it's not an us and them. And the first time I actually done this, one of the boys commented that, so before it was us, it was you, kind of thing. And it was like, that sounds divisive, but it was actually perfect coming from him, that before you, it was us. And it's
like a connection as well, right?
Yeah, it's not an us and them thing. It's more of a, it's all of us. We've all like we've got a shared understanding of it. So then we go from there and go up to the game. And to be fair, Celtic have been good in providing sort of access if it's suitable. And then we'll talk them around walk them around the statues, telling them who people are, and they notice at that point. We've had a good few comments about between St Mary's and then going to Celtic Park, how often you see Brother Walfred. Like you're talking about seeing maybe into the double figures between banners and all the painting that's in St Mary's and stuff. So it's you then get into the game, and the ones that we've taken, the groups that we've taken into the standing section have it. Honestly, the welcome's been brilliant. A lot of the people that are there know the lads are coming, and have went out their way to make sure they're shaking hands and knowing and getting to know them and asking their name. And North Curve have been good. North Curve Celtic have been good in providing a free North Curve scarf to them, so that they feel like they've got something that they can take away from the day with them. That's kind of what a successful day looks like, making sure they then get up the road. Some of them have been absolutely freezing standing at the football, and I think they've been a wee bit miserable watching a winter game, but they get the experience and they love it. It sounds so simple, but the joy and what they get from it can't be underestimated, I don't think.
On the winner stuff, honestly, it puts me in mind that I took a group to the Bucky Thistle game. I think that was about 2.5 years ago, maybe, and I just remember the weather being absolutely brutal, and coming out as well, and kind of trudging back to the train station. I was in a bad mood, but they were all still quite buzzing and had a great day. And I think there was about 12 of us at that game, which was just far too much. So there's definitely been trial and error there in terms of numbers and good places to go and stuff. So I think we've done that kind of groundwork, I guess, and we can kind of move forward with what works and what the guys have seemed to like, and we've had good feedback, like Tino's saying.
I guess the next thing is that sort of to finish on is lots of people listening to this, if it sparks an interest, will be thinking, how can they support? How can they get involved? Where can people find you? And what sort of help are you looking for? Because obviously all of what you're describing takes time, takes resources, takes money, takes all of that stuff.
We've got a fundraiser going on just now. If anybody out there, I know times are tight, but if anybody felt like they could contribute to that would be amazing. On Instagram, Fàilte Network as well. It's just trying to build that profile at the moment. We really want to make this first year a success and sort of show people, like, this is what we've done. So not expecting people to kind of jump in just now, but we have had PMs on forums and emails as well that I've not responded to all of at the moment. So I will do that. Apologies if that's you that I'm talking about, but we can absolutely, within our kind of constitution that we had to do to become a charity, we can have up to 7 trustees. So what we want to do, I guess, is make this first year really successful. And if there are people out there with expertise and knowledge and keen to get involved, either at a kind of organisational level or just volunteering for any given match day, just kind of reach out and we'll be, especially as the next season winds down and planning for the future, is when I hope that we can grow and develop, really.
Yeah. We'll obviously share the link to that fundraiser when we put this podcast out. Is there anything else you want to kind of, if we've missed anything before we kind of finish up, or have we covered kind of most of what you wanted to get across about everything that you're doing?
Yeah, I think we've got everything across. I think it sounds so simple, but the impact it has is massive. And like Thomas said, if somebody wanted to get involved in a sort of more permanent, formal basis, but it might be chucking a couple of tickets our way if you've got a couple of spares or anything like that. But the simplicity of it is what makes it. It's tried and tested, like Tom said. We've put the groundwork and we know what works. We know what's too much, and people maybe get lost in the crowd and don't feel the personal element to it. So we know what's too many, what's too little. But yeah, if anyone has anything, then they're more than welcome just to give us a DM on Instagram or any other way. But no, it sounds simple, but I think that's what makes it, is a simplicity of you're now one of us. You don't need to feel like one of them, which is maybe how some of the boys feel before they come to the match.
It's really great to hear all about it. I would encourage people to look you up. Like I said, we'll share all the stuff. But Tino and Tom, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all that with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, nice one, Claire. Nice to meet you.
And thanks for all the work that you're doing and will continue to do. It's been great to find out about it. This has been a feature podcast for the Cynic about the Fàilte Network. They've been Tino and Tom. I have been Claire Wild, and we will speak to you very soon.